Good morning, Malaysia, and good afternoon, Los Angeles. Thank you all for joining our real estate market trends and economic outlook in Malaysia. My name is Yin Ber from Masters Realty in San Marino. I am the 2020 immediate past chair of National Association of Realtors Global Advisory Board and the 2020 vice chair of CAR Global Real Estate Forum. I would like to thank Mindy Ye, our association's 2020 president, Alex Lee, Global Business Council chair, along with his co-chairs, Pauline Lam and Shen Zhang. And a big thank you to all of you who make this virtual meeting possible. Joining us today is the NAR Global Ambassador to Malaysia, Paul Sumsai. Good to see you, Paul, and welcome one and all from near and far. Before we start, please know that all participants will be muted during the session. Should you have a question or a comment, please enter it into the chat box. Sean Sang, our co-vice chair of the council, will read your questions during the Q&A portion. And also, please stay until the end of the session for a chance to win gift cards. These gift cards are sponsored by Joe Lam and Teresa Nguyen of Loan Direct Inc. This session is being recorded and will be available on your YouTube channel, West San Gabriel Valley Realtors. Please be sure to tune in. A little background on our association's relationship with MIEA, the Malaysian Institute of Estate Agents. On August 3rd, 2015, West San Gabriel Valley Realtors Global Business Council led a delegation consisting of our members to Malaysia. An MOU was signed between MIEA and West San Gabriel Valley Realtors in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Our goal is to exchange real estate information between Malaysia and the United States. Today, we are honored to have our special speaker, Mr. Eric Lim, to update us on the real estate market in Malaysia. Among many of Mr. Lim's accolades, he is the founder and group managing director of Hatamas Real Estate Group with offices in Malaysia, China, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. He is the immediate past president of MIEA, the Malaysian Institute of Estate Agents, and a past director on the National Association of Realtors Board of Directors. Mr. Lim is past president of the Council Presidents of ASEAN Real Estate Network Alliance, which is ARENA, and is the past vice president of FIAPSI, Malaysia. He has served as the director of the board of valuers, appraisers, estate agents, and property managers, which is a government body which regulates the real estate industry in Malaysia. Mr. Lim has received the Real Estate Agent of the Year award from numerous real estate organizations. Without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Eric Lim.
Yeah, thanks, Yin, for the lovely introduction. Good evening, Los Angeles, and good morning, Malaysia and ASEAN. Thanks to the organizer and West San Gabriel Valley Realtors for having me to share on the subject matter under the Global Real Estate Trends, Market Trends series. So today I would like to share on the following areas: our experience with COVID-19 in Malaysia, Malaysia economic outlook, our real estate market trends, Malaysia second home program, property investment in Malaysia. Similar to other countries, Malaysia was also affected by COVID-19. To contain the pandemic, our government introduced the Movement Control Order, or MCO in short, on 18th of March 2020. When the condition improves, the MCO was relaxed a bit on the 1st of May, and we call it Conditional Movement Control Order, or CMCO. And subsequently, on the 10th of June, the MCO was further relaxed, and it's now we call it Recovery MCO. So a lot to all the MCO and the abbreviation. So as of today, we have a total of 8,640 was infected with, and with a death toll of 121. So currently, the pandemic is under control, and we have single-digit cases for the last few days. So we thanks to our frontliner for the effort in containing the pandemic. So now we only have 64 cases under treatment, and there's no death for the past 3 weeks. So now most of the lockdown has been open, and economic activities has gone as normal. So next I will share a bit on the outlook of the Malaysian economy. So in 2019, our GDP was at 1.51 trillion, or equivalent to USD 350 billion. We achieved growth of 4.3% against the previous year. In the past, Malaysia economic depends largely on agriculture, mining, and some other manufacturing. So this has changed, and more than half our economy, or 57%, derived from services. This was followed by manufacturing at 22%. So there's agriculture and mining has been taken a back seat at about 7% respectively. So you can see from the chart here, for the past 10 years, we have been achieving commendable growth of between 4.3% to 7.5%. So due to the COVID-19, the economy has slowed down, and we only achieved about 0.7% for the first quarter 2020, right? So we expect a contraction for the quarter 2 and quarter 3, and we expect a recovery in quarter 4. In fact, IMF has forecast Malaysia economy to hit a negative of 1.7% in 2020. In fact, it further forecasts the economy to rebound strongly in 2021, and we are looking at a rate above 9%. So that was something we are looking forward, and hopefully we can contain the pandemic and move forward. So in order to boost economy arising from the pandemic, our government has adopted the 6R approach. The 6R, we call it resolve, resilience, restart, recovery, revitalize, and finally to reform. So now we are under the recovery stage. So they came up with several stimulus packages, totaling ringgit Malaysia 295 billion, or equivalent to 68 billion US dollars. So under phase 1 of the program, which we call it Prihatin in Malay, or concern program, a sum of 250 billion or USD 58 billion was allocated. So this is besides covering the necessities like healthcare and other critical utilities, it is also to support the smaller business owner or enterprise, which provide about 90% of the workforce. It was used to provide income continuation for workers who has lost a job, and for the students and the retirees to cope up with the daily life. In fact, our central bank has also introduced a 6-month payment moratorium, or they call it bank deferment scheme. So this partly also to help any payment default or even non-performing loans subsequently. So under phase 2 of the program, a further sum of 35 billion or USD 8 billion was allocated to stimulate the economy further. Part of the program was to empower the people. So some of the workers were retrenched, and effort was made to retrain and reskill the workers in order to gain employment in other sectors. So property development and ultimately the construction industry is one of the pillars in our economy. To boost the property sector, the government has introduced several initiatives to increase home ownership. The rent-to-own scheme is to help the young people to rent property with the option to purchase at a later date. And this is also further supported by the bank, especially our leading bank, the Bank Malaysia. And also under the affordable housing policy, several schemes was introduced to help the underprivileged. And the property gain tax was also raised recently for any disposable from 1st of June onward until next year. So this is also encourage people to if they make gain, to resell, and probably that would help them to repurchase any other good investment. And in fact, to help them further, in the past, the central bank only allowed up to 70% lending for third property. So from then on now onward, we allow this 70% capping to be waived until 2021 or end of 2001. So as our pandemic is under control, and also to boost the economy further, the government has also in talk to several other countries, which is in green zone, to open our borders. So in Malaysia, we call it either the green bubble or the green lane. So these countries include, I think, Singapore, Australia, Brunei, New Zealand, Japan, and Korea. So under phase 2 of these borders realization, it may include China, Vietnam, and Thailand, and of course subsequently to any other countries which has managed to contain the pandemic. So as part of the effort to boost the economy, we strongly encourage foreign investment into our country. So an agency known as the InvestKL was established to attract Fortune 500 countries to establish their regional business in Kuala Lumpur. So the target, the sector includes oil and gas, engineering, healthcare, consumer products, supply chain, and others. So as of last year, about 90 MNC or multinational company has chosen Malaysia as their regional hub. So they have contributed about ringgit 13 billion or equivalent to 33 billion in USD in foreign direct investment and creating about 14,000 highly quality jobs. So due to the trade war between US and China, we also managed to attract many companies to relocate their business or manufacturing here. So in fact, in north of Malaysia, we call it known as Penang, we attracted a large investment in semiconductor to produce chips. We also benefited from the e-commerce, and many large distribution hubs was also set up in Malaysia. So in order to attract foreign companies to relocate their operation here, many incentives are also granted. So tax rate of 0% between 10 and 15 years was given, but depending on the size. So if from let's say the investment fee exceeding 300 million to 500 million, we allow 10 years of the tax rate of 0, and above 500 million is we get up to 15 years. And we also work very hard to allow a speedy approval rate to grant the manufacturing license. So next we will try to share on the real estate market trends in Malaysia. So these are the following trends in real estate market in Malaysia. So now online and virtual marketing is getting more widely used and accepted norms in the market. So COVID-19 has further encouraged the usage. So in terms of the properties, due to property size and affordability issue, purchasers are opting for smaller unit size. This ultimately determines the absolute amount. And we also noticed that the younger workforce, as they enter the market, they are more open to rent instead of buying. Because in the past, when young people came to the market and they start to work, their first aim is to buy property. So now with all this mobility, they are more open to rent instead of buying. So as our country develops further, property price tends to go up. So this is supposed as issue in terms of affordability, right? So but income has not risen in tandem with the rise in property prices. And in fact, this has challenged our government to provide affordable housing. So this chart should demonstrate the volume and value of property transacted for the last 5 years. So in each year, we have transacted about 300,000 units per year. And in terms of value, it's about probably 114 billion ringgit, or equivalent to 33 billion USD per year. So based on the chart here, we are quite moderate. There's a slight increment and down. But in terms of last year, I think we achieved a moderate growth, both in terms of the volume and value. These are the moderate growth partly because our central bank was trying to tame the property market, and through the restriction in lending, we find it property price has been contained, and in fact the growth has been quite moderate. So next chart, it shows the various components of the property market. So this in terms of volume and value. Residential property garners a lion's share of the market, so it is probably more than 50%. In terms of volume, it's about 63%. In terms of value, about 51%. So the next component is the commercial, and then the rest are all the agriculture and industrial sector. So next, I would like to touch a bit on the My Second Home program. or in short, I call it MM2H. So this is rather popular to the expat, and it really strongly with the property market. So actually, Malaysia, My Second Home program was actually introduced to encourage expatriate retirees, especially retirees, to stay in Malaysia. And we always say that our cost of living are very low, and we have a lot of attraction, a lot of nice places for them to retire. But for this one, we don't deny even the younger group. So since 2002, we have attracted about 43,900 applications from 131 countries, which has been approved by now. And those who had this MM2H program approved, majority bought property thereafter. That's why I say that MM2H are quite related to property. So of course, lately, I think the last week, we have a slight changes. We was supposed to be under Tourism Ministry. Now they're being parked under the Home Affairs, and there's a slight delay in the application. So this chart shows the approved application from the various countries. So China contributed about 41%, followed by Japan, Bangladesh, Korea, UK, and Hong Kong. In fact, Hong Kong, when the protest was being underway, and we received a lot of applications from Hong Kong since last year. And in fact, the numbers are growing, right? So these are the benefit of the MM2H. So it is a 10-year social visit pass, or it's multiple entry visa. And if you are a holder of this MM2H, you can own 100% ownership of the private limited company, and the income from offshore are tax exempted, and there's no limit in the property you can buy, unlimited, and there's a freedom of travel. There's no minimum stay required, and you can bring any assistance or a maid if required. And of course, in Malaysia, we also show that we have a very advanced medical healthcare, and of course, our education are one of the sought after, especially by the ASEAN countries. I'll touch a bit on the property investment for foreigners. So from here, I think it is the most popular or the sought after is always our city, our capital, is Kuala Lumpur. And in the north, Penang are also highly sought after, and Johor. But Johor, I think the last few years, we have a good major developer from China. And in fact, we have created I call this island, call it Forest City, right? And that has attracted a lot of large investment from China and other countries, right? And in between, we have Malacca, our historic city. And in fact, that also a big attraction to the Hong Kongs and China. And in the east, we have the Sabah. Those who love the beaches, live the called seafood. Yes, Sabah has been a good attraction, and also partly because there's a lot of direct flight from Sabah to other parts of the region, including I think Korea and Japan. In fact, we're surprised that Sabah property is as high as our Kuala Lumpur. So these are the areas where I think these are the American can buy, or others countries where majority condominium are the preferred. They either buy from the secondary properties or the new launches, right? And next, there are the commercials, the shop houses, office suite, and also we receive a lot of these the investment for the high-rise en bloc building. And nowadays, our industry are sought after because of the reshift of the production hub from other countries, or especially China. Our detached and semi-detached factories are highly demand, and our people, in fact, seems to complain. If under negotiation, sometimes on the next few weeks, it's already taken up. So in fact, Malaysia, we have a so-called a bit a tight supply of industrial premises, and this is also partly because of the call this e-commerce and the logistics hub. So these are the properties that foreigners are allowed to purchase. So in Malaysia, we have several states, and each state they allow or they control the threshold. So in terms of the our city, our Kuala Lumpur, the threshold is 1 million ringgit, or USD 230,000. And in next, our neighbor, they call Selangor, the threshold will be different. You need double up, 2 million ringgit, or 460,000 USD. So of course, if you investors have issues to understand this sort of thing, our local practitioners are always here to assist. And of course, in terms of the property ownership, there is no limit in owning. You can own how many units in terms of condominium, commercial shops, industrial, and others. So they can buy all these things except agricultural land. So agriculture are always limited to our Malaysian. So these are the exclusion I call sector where our foreigners can't touch. These are the low and medium cost properties, agricultural land, Malay reserve, the Mubitra allocated units, or call it ethnic, I call this the Malay, and the landed property in Selangor above certain below 2 million threshold. So the rest, there's no issue except this category we don't open to foreigners. So sometimes why people say that why the Malaysia attract a lot of investment because we have a lot of freehold property, and of course our leasehold is 99 years, and of course timeline wise we probably take between 3 to 6 months to complete the transaction. So we are always talking to our authorities, can you please cut short the approval process? And I think we love the way like Singapore or even Hong Kong that they can do the transaction within a couple of weeks. So we are working towards that direction to improve our system to speed up the transaction. So in terms of the property purchase, financing is always available. So it's between the rate of 50 to 70%. And of course, if you are an MM2H holder, the financing can be much higher, up to 80%. So our interest rate for property financing are rather quite low, but of course you can't compare in the US. So in fact, lately our rates have been coming down. Our overnight policy rate has been reduced 4 times in a year, and our rates have come down further. So in terms of the financing, yes, depend on the age of your borrower, we can go up to 35 years. Or of course, it's an age limit up to 70 years. So of course, when talk investment, people are concerned what is the yield they can get. So we have different yield expectation, but it depends on the type of properties. So in terms of condominium, you can expect about between 3.5 to 5% yield, and for the commercial, it probably slightly around 3.8 to 5.5% yield, and industrial is always much higher, between 4.5 to 6%. So if you translate it on your borrowing below 3.5%, and based on what you are enjoying here, you have a net positive cash flow. And of course, we have a lot of foreigners, instead of taking loan, they buy cash. And I think we got a lot of investors from China and Hong Kong who bring tons of cash and they don't take financing. Probably maybe the lending rates in their countries are cheaper. In fact, in Hong Kong, we also encourage those purchasers maybe probably to either bring their own cash or refinance their properties instead of taking a local bank loan. So in terms of the capital appreciation, not too bad. In terms of the condominium, it's between 4 to 6% per year. Commercial, between 5 to 7%, and of course industrial are around that 5 to 7%. So well, if you combine both your return of the yield investment and the capital appreciation, you can hit almost double-digit gain. So I think Malaysia is a hotspot. I call attractive. I call this attraction. I mean, they call area to invest. And of course, we encourage our friends and investors from US and other region, right? And of course, the investment has been getting sought after lately. So these are this is my end of my presentation, and thanks for your attention, and I will happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Eric, for such an informative presentation. We're now ready for the Q&A portion, which will be moderated by Shan Zhang, our Global Business Council's co-vice chair. Shan, you have the floor.
So thank you again. So we have several questions for Eric.
Right.
So the first question we have is, why did the mining and oil economy decline by 7% in 2019?
I think it's partly because our mining and the oil, of course, it's a majority are the crude oil. And I think because last year the crude oil price came down, right, compared to the earlier high. And that has translated into a drop in our revenue. Probably maybe other sectors has also gained more. So this translates a lower growth.
So the next question is, what is the home ownership rate in Malaysia? And what is the home affordability index in Malaysia in 2019?
I don't have figure to support the question, while our home ownership rate is quite high, as I mentioned earlier, Malaysian, they love to own a property, and the moment they get into the workforce, they try to buy. And of course, because of the affordability issues, our government in fact encourage them to rent before they buy. The leading bank came back with some scheme. You rent first, and at the end of some period, you have option to purchase. So the affordably, I think the medium, I call this price point probably between about 350,000 to 400,000 ringgit, or terms about 100,000 USD. That is average. But when this statistic being done, is always talking about whole Malaysia in general. In other parts, property prices are much cheaper. But of course, in the central, the capital of the Malaysia, the price are much higher. So it sometimes it's quite distorted when you talk about the average median price of the property. That's how the price be structured.
So the minimum, what is the minimum again? Can you repeat that? The minimum purchase limit for other state again, such as Sarake?
Some are if about 500,000 ringgit or USD 125,000, 125,000 for other states. In KL, Kuala Lumpur is about 1,250,000 USD. Even our neighboring right now, I'm staying in Selangor, is 2 million ringgit, or about 500,000 USD.
Now, you mentioned about the MM2H program. Can we buy a car with tax exemption with the program?
Yeah, in the past, you have this incentive. If you come to Malaysia, you buy a car, we have special tax exemption, but I think that's been done away last 2 years. So right now, you are paying same rate or tax as we Malaysian.
There's a time limit with this program?
This visa is up to 10 years. Right, and the free entry and no limits of stay for 10 years.
The next question, tell us about, as a US resident, retiring and live in Malaysia, what are the pros and cons?
Well, I have more pros and cons. Right, of course, our cost of living in Malaysia are rather very low. Of course, especially as I say, we encourage a lot of retirees to come to Malaysia. So cost of living are rather low. And also even the property price are very reasonable. And in terms of the the attraction, in terms of the areas, you can stay in a seaside area, into the the mountain, or the relaxed area. In terms of food wise, of course, I think many Americans could have a different taste, but Asian love we have a lot of choice of food because we are multi-racial. We have all kind of food from Chinese, other Malay or other cuisine. So we have a lot of choice of food. And in fact, those foreign come to Malaysia, they tend to come back for the food because there's so much variety. And well, Malaysians are very friendly. We boast that we can speak multiple lingual, right? Can speak English, can speak Malay, and all kinds of things. So foreigner, they feel very at ease to stay here. They can communicate. Well, I can't think of much the other part. We also shout what we are the best, right? And of course, somebody may think in the media, they say that, oh, Malaysia is not a safe country. It is not exactly. We are very comfortable. Of course, in any country, we tend to have some kind of isolated cases. Of course, we have sometimes probably snatch thief, all right? That would be something happen, and probably the media might hype it up. We always encourage people to be careful when you are if you travel into some isolated area. In general, we feel very comfortable. These are a few areas I think what attracts foreigners and these MM2H holders.
Thank you, Eric. We appreciate your presentation. We have 3 more questions for you.
Okay, sure.
What are the most important things for buyers to focus on when they deciding to buy property in Malaysia?
Well, I think when you buy, I think they always say that if every investor say it's a location. Find location where I think is the area where to buy, right? It's always the location, and of course it depends whether you're buying from the under construction or under the completed. So when talk buying under construction, always we encourage to buy from the renowned builders or the developers, right? They can assure you of the quality, the timely delivery. The other part is the type of properties we're looking for investment, for own stay. Some properties, they have attract better return, or if you talk some areas, probably low return, but it's more so own stay. And these are a few areas I think investor should be careful. And always we, as the practitioner in Malaysia, we are well known. We are know what are the to advise on our investors. So yeah, we encourage investors to rather they just based on their intuition, just to engage our real estate practitioner here. We can advise you what will be the better option and better location to look for.
For a 2-bedroom and 1 bath, what is the average rent you can collect?
It depends on the very in the areas. In terms of the this Kuala Lumpur city center, a 2-bedroom, the rental is probably between about 5,000 ringgit, USD about 1,200 plus, and then you go to the further away outskirts a bit, probably you're getting probably 1,005 ringgit, and that's in terms of USD probably is even much lower. Our conversion rate between USD to ringgit is about 4.25. So in terms of the dollar terms, our rental, our price are very, very cheap.
Our last question. As a foreigner investor in Malaysia, are we able to purchase freehold properties, also obtaining loans as well?
Yes, we have no issue. That's why we always shout that in Malaysia, you can buy freehold, you can buy leasehold. Of course, our leasehold are always 99 years. And of course, the older property, as the time runs, you have a shorter lease. So we have no issue for foreigners to buy freehold. Unlike other countries, when they have freehold property for local, foreigner you buy it turns into leasehold. So Malaysia, we have no such policy. You buy as we are Malaysian. So there's no restriction that freehold turns to leasehold. And just not saying about financing, is it?
What's the
financing, is it correct? The other question? Yeah, financing, yes. I think yes. In terms of the lending, yes, our banks they provide lending between 50 to about 70% of the property purchase price. And of course, if you are a holder of the M2H, the banks are even more willing to pay lend you higher. Of course, the approval depends on the criteria, the profile of the applicants.
This will be our last question from President Mindy. So her question is, do you have property tax in Malaysia?
Well, of course, it depends. For our property tax in terms of the holding, we don't have property tax per se. When only the rental return, the rental you collected, that will be deemed as your rental income. Then you pay as your Malaysian tax law, the income tax law. That is the property tax. It's not actually property tax per se, but it's towards the trades in the rental income. And of course, the rest are only our assessment yearly to pay to a council for the maintenance or kind of thing. So the other tax only thing is applied when you sell a property. And of course, we have threshold. We also encourage people to buy, to hold longer. So if you sell within this is applied to foreigner, yes, you have to keep for 5 years, right? I think 5 years, yeah. So if you sell within 5 years, the tax gain for the disposal is 30%. And if you are more than 5 years, it's 5%. So that is the tax on the disposal. So beyond that, we are very liberal. We don't tax property owners. That's why we attract property investor to Malaysia.
We actually have, if you're okay, we have one more question.
No problem, I'm okay. I have time for you.
So from Jeffrey High, he wants to know, can you go over the real estate tax gain waiver again?
The real estate gain, is it? That one is only for the locals. That recently, because of the COVID-19, and as a way to encourage property disposal or change of property, so the government relaxed it. Instead of within 3 years you purchase and dispose, there's a gain of 30% and scale down to 5% after 5 years. So to encourage more activity, the government waived the property gain tax from June and this year until end of next year. But this is only applicable for the locals. So for the foreigners, that the 30% tax bracket still maintained.
Well, thank you again for answering all the questions. This will conclude our Q&A section. Let's move to our lucky drawing. Pauline?
Thank you, Shen. Thank you very much, and thank you, Eric. Now it's our lucky draw time. Thank you for our great sponsor, Joe Lam and Teresa Nguyen from Long Direct, for their generosity. Today we have 2 gift cards for our lucky draw. We wish you are the lucky winners, but you have to be here. If you are not here, you cannot win the prize. Okay, now, Alex, can you start a spin? Francis Huang, congratulations. But Francis, you are one of the committee. Do you want to donate it or you want to win the prize? I cannot hear you. Can you unmute you?
Yeah, I'll donate.
Donate it. Thank you so much. We have a spin again. Maple Joe, Maple is not here. Need to redraw. Thanks. I think Vince is not here. So, Albert, I need your help again. Let me check it. Jeff is not here too, either. Thomas Wong. I don't think Thomas here. Mostly he will be here. Sorry, Thomas. Main Xiang, not here. Wow, you got a chance to win. Lulu Liang. Lulu, I think Lulu is here, I believe so. Lulu, can you text us? You are here, Lulu? I think Lulu is here. I saw Lulu's name, okay? So the first winner is Lulu. Our second winner, Christina Bell, not here. Yan Mei, are you here? Yes, Yan is here. Congratulations, our winner is Lulu, and thank you. And then this is our happy hour today. Congratulations, and right now, Yin, I send it back to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Pauline, and thank you, Shen, for taking care of the Q&A. On behalf of the West and Gabriel Valley Realtors, we would like to thank Mr. Eric Lim for his informative presentation, and our sponsors, Joe Lam and Teresa Nguyen from Loan Direct for their generous gifts. Now, please remember to join our upcoming Global Real Estate Market Trends series in the coming months. The next webinar in our Global Real Estate Market Trends series is at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Friday, July the 24th. The topic is COVID-19, its impact on real estate market in Taiwan. Our special speaker from Taiwan is Mr. Michael Singh, a CCIM. Please mark your calendar and be sure to register for this informative webinar. Thank you again for joining our session today. This session is now adjourned, and please be safe and be well. See you all at our next webinar on July 24th. Bye-bye.